Okay, then welcome everyone. Welcome to our workshop on how to pitch great and why does it even matter before you're ready to start your company or start presenting your ideas to other people. I'm Egor Folley. I'm going to share a story today for you on the importance of how to pitch and how to communicate the main idea of your startup of your company. Additionally, I'm giving you essential tools how to build your journey as a startup from the vision to implementations and again to conveying your idea to the customers of the public with whom you're going to be talking and with whom you're going to be sharing your vision. Our structure today, we're going to start with a quick introductions on Global Detroit, introductions from attendees. Then we're going to have a section on the startup from your vision to specific implementations and guidelines with any specific step-by-step solutions. Then we're going to have a part on essential communications. How can you present yourself in the most appealing and precise way? And then the most important part is pitch great. Again, guidelines on the pitch, how to structure your presentation to be more clear so people can wow about your presentation and they want to talk about you after that. Ernestine, would you like to jump off and present Global Detroit?
Sure, sure. So Global Detroit is an organization, a nonprofit that's all about immigrant inclusion. And we have been around for about 15 years, advancing the narrative of immigrant inclusion being good for the economy in Michigan in particular. We started off in just Detroit, and then we've expanded statewide, all the way to Grand Rapids. And, that's where my counterpart is. And then the Global Entrepreneur in Residence program has been a part of Global Detroit's programming since about 2019. And I have been one of two Global Entrepreneur in Residence program managers. We help tech entrepreneurs find a way to legally remain in the country, working on their startups. And then they are able to contribute to the economy in a meaningful way by creating jobs and bringing tech innovation to Michigan, and just being an inspiration to everyone with their contributions to the economy. And that's a little bit about Global Detroit, who we are, what we do, and what our program does.
Thank you so much, Ernestine. And a quick bio about the presenters today. Originally, it was supposed to be me and Max, my fellow global entrepreneur in residence, but he would not be able to join us. A quick note about me. I'm global entrepreneur in residence at Global Detroit, second time founder. My first startup was in AI drones for construction sites. The idea was there to build a drone that could fly itself and collect data. Now it's the second venture, building AI stealth, where the main idea is to make businesses data trustworthy through agentic AI, practically make the use of the raw and silent data into something worthy and data-driven decisions. And I'm Techstars alumni, where I got the most experience of how to build a startup and how to pitch great. So today I'm going to be sharing this mostly my stories and my experience throughout this like 3 years of entrepreneurship. I always keep this slide of your turn intro lines. I guess let's skip it. So the essential, yes,
But
please, Ernestine.
I think for folks who are viewers watching this online, it would be, great to just explain, why that's important, because, that slide did contain some of the information about who's here and why would they even want to be a part of a pitch competition, and, introducing yourself, making a strong impression that matters when it comes to the startup world. So, I just feel like that could be something that's just we really want to press upon folks who are pitching.
Let's make it a homework to make a 10-15 elevator pitch about you, engaging and exciting the story, why you and what your startup about, the mission, and why joining pitch competition. Most important rule is keep it clear and concise. So let's then jump to the most essential part of building a startups. It's going to be the idea of a startup in a nutshell. Paul Graham is the original founder of Y Combinator. Y Combinator is the top one, I guess, accelerator companies in the world. And he said that running a startup is like being punched in the face repeatedly, but working in a large corporation is like being waterboarded. And the main idea here is like, I guess kind of people start companies for different reasons. Somebody has personal problems they want to solve. They have like personal experience or pain that they don't like, and they want to change the world by sharing this like initial problem into scale, into masses. Other people see some gaps in the market and they want to build something different, better. I guess most of the founders, of course, they want to just money in 2 weeks or 2 months to scale to billions, but that's usually not that story how it works. But nonetheless, it usually always comes with the idea of you have something in your mind, you want to build something, and you don't need permission. You want to be independent and you want to make some improvements to the world. And I guess the most essential part during a startup is to have your freedom and have the initial why strong enough. So whenever you feel adversity, challenges, negativity, all this like setbacks, you still have this like initial voice, like one specific goal that tells you like you should persist and you should keep on going. And that's why the essential elements of when you start is to build your North Star. The idea of a North Star is you should have the initial feeling of pulling you through forward by building this clear vision of why you're going to do it, especially in the moments when everything falls apart. So you can say it's more about the emotional thing that keep you aligned with your venue. It's your vision, and when the things get hard, you should build the why behind your story, behind your challenges. It will give you the clear reason to persist and not to stop. Again, when you face adversity. In startup, I guess when you start in the early days, when you don't have enough traction, when you don't have enough clarity, just all shaky vision that only you can see. And that's going to be your moat, especially when you're starting something in technological area, technological space. If you don't have enough clarity in how you want to do it and why you want to do it, if you're going to try to convey your idea to customers, to investors, or people who work with you as a team leader, they're not going to get it because technologically speaking, you're not going to be there because all the big companies can build technology. And what your differentiation should be the vision and the clarity on like why you should be building and why you should be only one person who is going to be moving this small thing that you call a startup into something like scale and masses as actually a company is going to be providing as much value as you want it to have. So for those people who are listening us online, it's going to be your homework. Build your value proposition. Here's a simple formula. You want to help, and you put your target customer here, do something that your solution will benefit them by, and then you can put your specific product or service. I guess the most probably common one would be applications, specifically like from Uber. They want to help companies who don't help actually people who don't have enough time to find a taxi by simply opening the app and finding the taxi quickly. By providing the iPhone application, we're going to save them as much time. It's probably not accurate as it was originally there, but I guess you got the point. So now we discussed that you have your vision, initial vision that will pull you through, but now it all comes to technical implementation. And usually the most important part when you build a startup is not to have a really strong and clear and precise and accurate business plan that will take you so much time to develop, but rather to build a lean canvas. The idea for lean canvas is to quickly create a template, what you believe is the problem, what you believe your solution and value, and how you're going to convey this value to the people that you believe you have a problems. So in startup terms, we call it RATS, risk is assumptions test. So what you do is you present your templates and you create your most essential assumptions about the problem and solution, people that face this problem, and how your solution can help them. The next stage is you just iterate. You just ask people like, hey, do you have a problem? What about the solution if they like it? You listen to them, you build specifically what they ask you to build, and you come back to them again and ask like, hey, I built it for you. Do you like it? If you don't, what's the problem in there? So this is a logical model as how the idea becomes more sustainable business. It's like a business plan in a nutshell, but that's what we're actually aiming for you to build for us as a pitch presentation. Because once you have your clear why, then you implement your lean canvas as your idea and implementation. The rest is just is going to be more beautiful or more comprehensive way to present your lead canvas in terms of business plan for investors, probably in terms of pitch presentations when you want to present to other people why your company is going to be good enough so they could listen to you. And before we gonna jump on the topic of what's the essential element of building a startup, we need to understand what's the most crucial reasons why startups fail. If we check the statistics, top 3 reasons here: poor product market fit, wrong marketing strategies, and team/HR issues. Of course, we have cash flow problems, but they're going like as a 4th reason. But top 3 reason have a one specific underlying, I would say, feature. And this feature of the causing all the root of the problem where startups fail, it lies in communication. Because when you don't have a product market fit, meaning you're not clearly conveying or not listening enough to your customers, when you don't have a marketing strategies, you don't understand how can you push your product to the masses so people could adopt the habit of using your product. And team HR issues, meaning you cannot clearly communicate with your people, who your like fellow founders or like first people you hire, so they could actually deliver what you're asking them to deliver. And any questions so far from the public? Okay, now let's go forward. So communications is the holy grail of building a startup. And as a founder, your communication, not just one of the skills you need to have, that's actually the most important skill that you will have. Previous CEO of Y Combinator, Sam Altman, who is now the CEO of OpenAI, said once that 95% of the job of the CEO is to make sure that your strategy is actually happening. And by implementing your strategy into reality, first of all, you need to convey your vision to people. And then you need to make them believe in your vision so they could actually work hard and they actually clearly implement in reality what you want them to do. And that whole thing comes through communication, come from the idea that you need to understand the audience whom you're talking to, whether it's like your customers, your investors, or it's your team. And you need to understand what's going to be the best way how you can help them achieve their goals so they could actually help you back and respect you enough and have the same vision as you are, so you can work in this like in synergy of working together and achieving the milestone that you set to achieve. These days, we have a super noisy environment. We have fragmented world, and the clearer you are and the more memorable, inspiring you can be, the better your result would be as a startup founder. And we come to every aspect of the building a startup, from hiring people to raising money. You all need to clearly communicate your vision. And in order to do it, you need to understand what's going to be actually the psychology of making communications clear and precise. So people don't process messages rationally. We are more like emotional beings, and we usually, first of all, we make an emotional decision, and then we try to justify it logically. So all that to say, the more emotions you can invoke from people, again, from customers to investors to your team, the more outcome you will have from that. As a neurobiological fact, 80% of decisions are subconscious. So all you need to do is to inspire people and motivate them in the simplest possible way. So first thing, you need to be clear. Keep it simple, because as Donald Miller, his book on marketing, said, you confuse, you lose. And again, neurobiology of a human being is our brain avoids confusion and avoids over complications. So there is a simplicity paradox in there. So the less you tell, the more people understand from you. And each of us suffer from this like information overload on a daily basis. So people have a short attention span, and you need to focus your message so clear and so concise. So in the next 5 to 10, 15 seconds, you need to get all the important information and not overload people with uncertainty and unclarity. The second thing is value. Each business, and practically the whole rule of the business, what's in it for me? So no one cares about it as a startup, and it's probably sounds a bit rough and harsh, but usually people only care how you can help them solve one specific problem, cover the specific gaps, and practically make their job easier. So all the customers want in pain relief. They don't really care what you build for them. If you help them solve the problem and you can prove it, that's the main objective of your pitches. So the main rule here is you need to speak in their language. You need to not shine and outshine them and be in a show off about your superiority, but rather than find the best way to understand what they want by listening to them and give them exactly what they want. So practically you need to show how they can benefit from you. The first thing is connection. Each human being wants the connection, and we all want to be connected. So the pitch should be authentic in that sense. So you say and what you do is consistent, and people will understand you from not being a good presenter or a good problem to solve, but people would like to invest specifically in you because they see how passionate you are, how real and genuine you are with them, and how you're not pitching to the crowd, but you're talking specifically to one human being. So it's going to be human to human interaction during your presentations and during your interactions with people. The last one is trust and framing. So after we have our clarity and value and we connect with people, the most important part is to build this trust. So people could believe in your vision is to build a trust. And trust is usually built by having a competence, integrity, and benevolence. So people need to see that you are the one person who is good at what you do and you know what you're doing. You are consistent in your action and you are telling the truth about your main idea and that you're actually the person who can solve it. And of course, you actually care about the solution. You're not just building for your own selfish reasons. You're actually there to help them. So it's selflessness, and being the right person to do it. And framing is, I guess, like it's a wrap up of all the things that we discussed before, because how you frame your narrative, the story, is how people are going to react on you. So you need to believe that whatever you're saying and whatever people want to hear from you is aligned. So this way, people naturally going to be attracted to you. You don't need to push them to come back and explain and ask you to explain themselves. Great communications fuels growth of the company. And it only works but when your message clearly lands on what people want to hear from you. It's always, all the communications in every sector are audience specific. As a product market fit, you always need to have, before actually the product market fit, you need to have a clear message that you can quickly explain to the people what you're working on. So without any information, they can understand you and they can continue talking to you and be entertained and engaged with conversation with you. So communications isn't just how you say it, but it's also how other people can perceive your message, how can understand you, how can hear and feel. And the most effective messages, as I mentioned before, is human-to-human interactions. When you talk, even if you're in the crowd, each human being with whom you're interacting feel like it's a personal connection, but like it's like you make them listen, like those listeners, you feel better about themselves, like you inspire them and you create them the vision to be more entertained and more excited about talking to you. And the best way to build a clear message is by starting with the data. You need to find a way to understand what's happening on the market and the problem of your customer or investor has. In order to do it, you need to collect the data. After that, you organize the data into specific pinpoints and you have your information. Once you have your information, you need to make a fine array and frame this information as interpretation of how it can benefit them. You'll have a knowledge. And once you have your knowledge and you see the value, you have your wisdom. The wisdom is the insights where you convey to other people and they understand you in the most effective way. So when your message hits the wisdom level, people will usually come to you and they say, "Oh, that's actually exactly what I want to hear from you." And when you have people who come to you and say, "Oh, it's so clear and so precise that actually what we want to have, let's continue talking," that's when you can say that you have a message market fit. So usually the wisdom comes when you have a hard work of research and talking to people, listening to them, you process that, analyze and give people what they want. And then you have the wisdom of hard work and a clear vision and how can you be the best. Now we're going to have a homework of how to build a message for the audience. In a simple formula, you can start with finding the problem that people are struggling with, quick question, And then you can say, hey, if you have this problem, we can help you with the solution so you can have your desirable outcome. Coming from personal experience in construction, that was actually my message, my cold email and cold LinkedIn outreach message. I was just saying like, hey, do you have problems tracking the data? I can help you because I'm working right now on Vision AI that can help you analyze all the volumes of data that you have, and you can understand more what's happening on your job site without manual analysis. Usually it was like 2-3 sentences, super short, super concise. But that actually would give me, I think like 74-75% response rate in construction industry, even though I didn't have a preliminary network in there, and I was practically trying to hit a random button to understand what's going to be the pain point in there. So you practice at home, and then we'll see how it goes for you. Any questions so far from the audience? Let's hope my message is so clear so you don't have any questions and you're entertained and excited. So the most essential part of our workshop today is pitch grade. I recently had an interaction with one of my advisors. The person was working for 3 to 5 years as managing director at one of the Deloitte subsidiaries. And I guess his main message was like, when you pitch, whenever you talk, whenever you have any interactions, and you try to connect with people and build this like partnerships in whatever sense, from investment to customer base, you need to make it so clear and so valuable for them so they could love you and they could brag about you after. That's going to be like two main essential points that you should be focusing on. And the pitch itself is the story, and the story with a purpose. It's not about bragging about different facts. It's rather about building this whole narrative that's going to be clear and logical flow of how can you engage with people and how can you excite them with your own personal story when you're a hero of your story. Your job is not to explain everything, but rather to spark this action so people can come back to you and say, oh, I get it, I like it, I believe it, and I want it. I want to do more, I want to talk to you more. So the pitch and pitch decks is actually a presentations of how can you build your vision into reality and attract people so you can come back to you and help you make your vision becomes a reality in the world. And a great pitch isn't just describing the business. It's more about telling your story and how to make people be more excited to help you and come back, just to summarize. So the 5 core elements of the pitch. Usually every pitch starts with the idea of how can you build your story more entertaining and exciting to invoke as much emotions as possible. Because as we discussed before, human are emotional beings. And the more emotion you can evoke, the more memorable it would be the story for them, so they could actually talk to you or clarify some unclear moments for you. So we usually start with the introduction story. In my case, I was telling when I was pitching the idea to construction companies, I started simply. Construction, the essential element of US economical growth, yet it's the least digitalized industry. And then I present myself and with the mission statement that I'm Egor Folley, and I'm helping construction companies enhance the digitalization level and track all the essential elements from job sites with AI. These 2 lines, it was a clear way of like, okay, that's my target, construction, and I'm helping building AI. Not clear enough. So then we go to the topic of hook. And hook is usually something that you build as a bold or dramatic or some grabbing attention sentence. For example, I started like, hey, we're working construction, I'm building AI. And my next slide was just like, bam, we spend hundreds, billions of dollars a year on construction efficiencies. So that hook was there to grab the attention, not for seconds, but so people could actually realize how horrifying fact it is, because construction is essential and we have AI and everyone knows about it, but then you're like, oh, but we're losing hundreds of billions a year. For them, it was a way to show the shocking statistics of how inefficient the process is. And that's actually real world pain. And it's not just a small, some nice feature to have. It's actually an essential problem. And that's so strong, you cannot really simply avoid it because it's a huge number. You make a small pause for 2 to 3 seconds. You scan at your audience to see their reaction. Once you realize that they already have this time to process it, you go to defining the problem. The idea of the problem, you need to understand how the world is broken, not overall in the industry, but specifically clarifying what's this quantitative data and the real-time data that you can show and say, hey, that's the problem because X, Y, Z reasons. Again, coming back to my pitch, I was saying 25% of the project managers do the manual job, and therefore they're spending, I guess it was like 35% of their time on specifically tracking the information that could be done by AI. That information was proven by real-time research. So whenever you present your problem, you need to say, hey, that's the problem because I found this. I did the research, I made a study, I talked to people, but that's going to be description of what's the percentage and what's the data there behind your story. Once you clarify that the problem is there, it's all existent, you need to present your solution that's directly accessing this pain point. Practically, you need to make it more concise and tangible and tell a specific value proposition how you can solve it. So coming back to this example with construction, we say that 25% of people spending time on manual labor, and you can say, hey, we built AI that can help construction managers spend like 25%, 28% less of their time on manual tasks by adopting our agentic AI that can help them process information more effectively. So we start with the problem in manual labor and time, and our solution specifically address this manual labor and time. There should be a clear line behind the problem, the gap, and your solution that you cover in this gap. The rest comes to your story behind attraction or signaling of the market. So you need to show that, first of all, you know what you're talking about because you've been doing some research, you've been talking to people, you have some signals that whatever you're saying here makes sense and it has proofs behind what you're saying. And the rest is ask, but we're not expecting you to ask something here because we're here to help you. So all you need to do is to show us that you know what you're talking about, the problem is accurate enough, and you can clearly deliver the value for the Michigan State. So common mistakes to avoid. I guess that's the most interesting part for early stage founders. First of all, whenever founders begin, they say, especially in tech industry, they say, okay, cool, we have a nice technology, we have AI, let's build and we show. And whenever they present the solution, they're always talking about how nice and amazing technology they have without clearly stating what's the problem does it solve. So you always start with the problem, because if you start with the problem, you're showing that you're not caring about the cool technology. You're showing that there is a problem that you know, and you deeply care about helping alleviate those pains for other people. Secondly, you don't talk in jargon or specifically technical depth terms. Whenever you talk to the audience, you need to understand that not all of us can comprehend your complex solution. So the simpler it is, as we discussed before, you confuse, you lose. The simpler it is, the better it is. You need to understand those people can be, first of all, they might be tired, they might be a bit annoyed, and the less information they're going to spend on understanding what you're working on, the better it's for you. Then wake solution and value proposition. If there's like no clear connection among the problem and the solution, that how can you solve this problem? That's going to be a gap for you and challenge for you to explain after that. Reading slides and robotic tones. I hope actually I don't have this robotic tone today, but you please do let me know if there's any challenges there. But that's the main idea here. You need to be more exciting. You need to be inspiring people. And the best way to do it is by creating this like tonality and specifically emphasize your tone on like the problem slide versus like solution slide versus your traction slide. You need to play with this like emotions, depends on what you want to expect to from your audience to feel. And then try to say everything. Once again, clarity trumps complexity. You need to say only the essential part. Even if you're losing some cool features, some functionality, some beautiful UI, some hard work, and something that you think is important, you need to focus only the essential part on how people can understand that they relate to this pain, and whenever you're doing is actually helping them. And the rest is like unorganized story. Whenever you pitch or you present something, each slide, each story, each piece of your presentation should be connected to the next slide, to the next story, to the next piece. You need to have a clear narrative how you came from one point to another, so people could not spend much time on trying to understand what you're actually working on, but they could feel your story. And that's the idea, the storytelling behind it. You need to create this narrative when you're a hero and you're slaying the dragon, as some salespeople on the internet say. The more exciting and entertaining your story emotionally, the easier it would be for them for your audience to remember you and, of course, to understand you. As a part of the global Detroit pitch competition, we are looking specifically for you to convey to us the idea what's the problem and value proposition specifically in Michigan, and tell us how do you know that the problem exists. So all you need to know that you did your research, you read some articles, you talk to people, and you know that the problem is there, and whatever you're working on is going to help specifically those people or Michigan community. And again, you need to create the whole clear narrative in a concise and the most exciting way in your slide. We're going to be evaluating you on the uniqueness of the value proposition with clear business model and the leadership there. And again, it's like we are here to help you, local students from Michigan universities, get your research, take it to the research when you can implement your vision into reality for Michigan community. So just tell us your story. Tell us why you think you matter and why you think your solution matter to the society in Michigan, and how can we actually what's going to be the most effective way to enhance your resources to achieving your goals. And then I guess like the final slide, I guess you can make a screenshot here. So what we need to do is, once again, tell the story. Why are you doing it? Why the problem? Why solution? Why now? And whenever you build this like clear narrative, first of all, use ChatGPT to draft your scripts and wording. Keep it on timing, because timing is essential. That shows us how you make your homework, how you do the original work in order to present and be more eloquent in a short timeline. And of course, just practice. I guess here's like the most essential element of the whole startup building is like prepare before you can go, and practice and read as much possible, reach as much possible information that you need, process it, and just implement it in reality. This slide is for your screenshots that you can use to prepare, and not just specifically for our pitch competition, but also that can help you to develop your startup and be more professional in this uncertain area that you're actually operating in the startup. I guess those books and those two startup schools and Techstars Entrepreneurs Toolkit going to be the most essential thing that you should do in the early days, because startups is hard, it's uncertain, it's unclear. But I guess once you read the books and you see how it's not something new that you need to, like it's not the rocket science. It's something that not all the people come from, but there are some science behind the startup that you can read from smart people, and you can use it for your own strategies. Thank you for your time. I hope it was entertaining for you as it was also for me. You've been an amazing audience, and let's have some Q&A session now.
I just want to say thank you so much, Egor, for your time and for leading this wonderful workshop today. This was great. Just the feedback I feel that our founders should get from this will be par excellence. And so we really appreciate you taking the time. And those of you who joined us today, we appreciate you and your interest in contributing to the economy in ways that, are so innovative with these startup ideas. And we really want to see more international students thrive and continue to come up with the next big idea. The next unicorn company is right here in Michigan. So with that, I do want to pass things over to anybody else. Drew, I don't know if you want to say anything, but we'll go ahead and we can end the recording for those of you who want to, who are watching this in a playback format, and feel free to reach out to us here if you have any questions around Global Detroit pitching, and our coaches, Egor and Max, who are also global entrepreneurs in residence, who are startup founders themselves. So thank you so much.